More nutty nutcrackers. Well, I guess they're a thing. I've opined before that my very favorite version on film of the Nutcracker is from 1986, but yet again, we have some contenders. Did any of them dethrone the champion? Well, let's carry on and find out. First, how about Care Bears the Nutcracker? That's right, the Care Bears got caught up in some Nutcracker action back in 1988 with this one. The Care Bears spot a sad little girl. She's sad, so these Care Bears are stalking her. I mean, watching over her, and decide to head down to Earth in their cloud car to help out. Some diaper furs hide in the car and go along, and they wind up in a fight with some rats or mice. I guess they can't make up their minds. Eventually, the girl, her brother, this Nutcracker guy, and the Care Bears go to Toyland to fight against this Grand Wizard dude and save the day. This was animated by Nelvana Studios in Canada. We talked about them in another video on the channel about Christmas cartoons. The Care Bears were sort of like My Little Pony before there was My Little Pony, kinda. You know how the ponies have this cutie mark tattooed on their ass, which tells you what their deal is? Well, the Care Bears had that too, and they could zap you with a Care Bear stare, which meant you were hit with a rainbow laser beam or something. Each Care Bear had its own personality, like Lucky Bear and Funshine Bear and True Heart Bear. My favorite was Sexy Chick Bear. Anyway, I was sympathizing with Grumpy Bear the whole time. I'd hate being in this Care Bear world too. It's so sickeningly cheerful and all of that stuff. No wonder Grumpy Bear is grumpy. This was made fairly late in the arc of popularity for the Care Bears, and they tacked on more and more stuff trying to gin up interest. So in this one, aside from the diaper furs, we get to meet the Care Bear cousins. Remember them? These were other animals with a cutie mark, pretty much Care Bears, but with more diversity. There's even a cameo in this by not Thomas the Tank Engine. I gotta tell you, as an adult, this thing was excruciating to sit through. It vacillated between being seriously tedious and fingernails on a chalkboard levels of annoying. So this is a hard pass if you ask me, but well, let's be fair, this was really made for little kids. Still pretty damned annoying though. And the Twitter kids will hate it too. I mean, sure, they'd love all the annoying, childish things we grown-ups can't stand, but besides having a brave prince rescuing damsels in distress, it also has a scene where Grumpy Bear falls down a chimney and comes out in blackface. And then the other bear asks, "Why are you black?" Hashtag Care Bears are racist, I guess. Anyway, the Care Bears Nutcracker may not be the very worst thing ever made, but it's also not marginally good. And I was just glad for the whole damn thing to be over. It's only an hour, but still, it was a long hour. I guess the lesson here is don't fall for the siren song of nostalgia for everything from the 1980s. At least not this time. Next up, how about this thing? A Nutcracker Christmas from 2016. This is a Hallmark romance movie, and it's not exactly a performance of the Nutcracker. It's more Nutcracker adjacent. Now, this kid here is all about ballet and wants more than anything to play the Sugar Plum Fairy in the Nutcracker. Apparently, this is the crowning achievement of a dancer in the ballet. Her older sister is her biggest cheerleader. The kid grows up and wins a big important ballet contest and is catapulted into the New York ballet scene. On her first day, she meets a guy and sparks start flying. Well, Being a Hallmark romance movie, it's no spoiler to say they fall in love. On the cusp of success, tragedy strikes, and our heroine gives up ballet as well as her man and goes home. 8 years pass and she becomes a yoga instructor. Meanwhile, her niece is all into ballet, and with her aunt's help, wins a chance to dance the Nutcracker with the Philadelphia Ballet Company. Anyway, our hero accompanies the kid to Philly and finds her ex-lover is in charge of this ballet company, and she winds up running into him over and over and over, and you can guess the rest. Will true love find a way, or will she fall on her ass and break her tutu? This one was actually surprisingly good for what it is. The production values were all right, and the characters were likable, at least. Even the kid wasn't really annoying. And we get an interesting behind-the-scenes look at the world of ballet. And the bits of the Nutcracker performance we see are interesting too. Some of the acting is a little wonky, but overall I kind of like this one. Then there's this thing, a really odd one. Finding Carlos from 2022. This one is a stretch, but like a Nutcracker Christmas, this one is also Nutcracker adjacent. It's a hip-hop version of the Nutcracker. Because, of course it is. Hashtag Nutcracker too white. But was it made for the Twitter kids? A young 16-year-old black kid is in trouble at school and with everyone else. He has a lot of anger issues. His dad abandoned him. His mom has been locked up because drugs. Carlos is angry and needs some kind of direction in his life, or he'll wind up in the hoosegow. When he reconnects with his father, who just so happens to be a dancer, well now, Carlos has to make a choice. Bang a gang, or get jiggy with dancing. His dad is putting on a version of the Nutcracker featuring a group of diverse cultures and stuff. Hold on, Twitter kid. Don't put your hand down the front of your pants just yet. Carlos even meets this chick, a dancer in one of the groups, and he soon finds a reason to take up dance. Or maybe finds 2 reasons, I don't know. Anyway, he applies himself and soon does what no Twitter kid will ever do. Grow the hell up. Now, the acting in this is perhaps not the most convincing thing in the world, but the dancing is good, and there's a lot of variety. Instead of being shot in New York or California, it was made in Oklahoma. And the upshot of this is to help troubled youth, being a production for youth outreach, so full points for that. Probably my favorite performer was this lady. It's not a large role, but I really liked her. Not Eartha Kitt here. She has a good song and dance routine. I liked her character. Anyway, while we don't get to see the whole thing, it shows snippets of what this production of the Nutcracker could look like, and it was really interesting and different. Finally, we have Nutcracker Massacre, a slasher movie from 2022. Here, a life-size magically possessed Nutcracker goes on a killing spree during a Christmas get-together with his dysfunctional family here. Our heroine has broken up with her boyfriend because he played around, and she goes to her aunt's for Christmas. Her aunt pretty much raised her, and her cousin is a real coward. Anyway, this here Nutcracker comes to life and goes around killing people. Can our heroes survive and stop its rampage? This one is not rated very highly on IMDb and gets 1 measly star on Amazon Prime. And true, it ain't great. But I've also seen worse. It definitely could have been better, but I've seen worse. I think the only real name brand here was Patrick Bergen. He's been in a bunch of things, but we last saw him in this version of Robin Hood that I reviewed, playing Robin Hood. Here, he plays the weird, creepy gift shop owner who makes the Nutcrackers. May Kelly appears as the bitchy cousin, Mousie. She was in another recent horror flick, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, from 2023. This was a British production, and that helps add a little variety at least, but that ain't great. So there you go, more Nutty Nutcrackers. I already have more of these in store for next year. How did Nutcrackers get to be such a thing anyway? And to answer the question, no, none of them top this version from 1986, The Nutcracker, the motion picture. Hands down, the best, most definitive version of the Nutcracker on film. Check out my other Nutcracker videos for more details on that, and I'll see you in the next one.